What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC Vegas 46 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, January 15th, 2022, the first event of the new year. Main event, really solid featherweight fight. Really looking forward to the main event. Rest of the card obviously has some fights fall off. Some sloppy fights in there. The Brandon Royval fight versus Rogerio Bontorin should be a solid fight as well, but obviously that main event is going to be one hell of a fight. And man, you got one guy coming off the beating of his life versus a up and comer, so we'll have to see what's going to happen with that one. But obviously, let's get into the first fight on the main card. So in the first fight, we have Bill Senor Perfecto Algeo taking on Joe Anderson Tubarão Brito. And for this fight, Algeo, he's one of these guys where he fights really lengthy, but he doesn't really necessarily put together the combinations like he should. I think his striking is not the best, and I think we saw that in his last fight that he's going to definitely struggle against fighters who have a lot better striking than him, that can be more technical and put together a variety of strikes unlike he can. He lost via a unanimous decision against Ricardo Ramos, and in that fight he really just had nothing going for him. He landed some good strikes here, and like one shot strikes, but overall I just felt like he was kind of getting overwhelmed with the variety that Ramos was bringing, and then also Ramos was trying to snake him too. And Algeo can definitely go for takedowns. Whether or not he goes for takedowns in this fight, we'll have to see. He has to make some improvements on his feet, and I guess, and I'm not saying Brito is the guy that's has striking like Ramos, because personally I don't think Brito has a variety of striking either. He kind of presses forward, tries to grapple with you. He has pretty good kicks, obviously has really great power. We saw that in his last fight against Diego Lopez, which he won that fight via unanimous decision. But because he's always trying to swing for the fences, he's trying to get in your face, his cardio tends to drain out a little bit. And against someone like Bill Algeo, maybe Algeo doesn't slow down as extremely because he's not throwing those kind of shots. He's not putting everything he's got into each strike. But Brito, I think he's just going to put the pressure on him, get in his face. And unless Algeo is able to catch him or something, I just see Brito kind of just winning a decision here, just because I think he can be the more aggressive fighter. It might not be the best fight in the world, but Algeo, he's going to have to really do something different. And if he gets taken down, that's going to be unfortunate, because I think Brito's definitely going to try to take him down in this fight, land some heavy shots on the feet. And maybe, like I said, Algeo, he landed some pretty good shots in his last fight against Ramos, but he just didn't put anything together. And there are times where he did land some good shots, but he didn't really do anything with it. He kind of just, it was just okay with just landing like one big shot, and then he didn't follow up with it. He didn't get aggressive. He's got to get really aggressive in this one, but it's kind of sketch for me. So I'm going to go Joe Anderson Brito to defeat Bill Algeo. I'll take him to win by a decision. Now, granted, Brito, he could gas out. Maybe Algeo's able to do something when he starts gassing out heavily, but yeah, I'll take Joe Anderson Brito to defeat Bill Algeo. I'll take him to win by a decision. And so we move on into the second fight on the main card. And in the second fight on the main card, we have Jake Collier taking on Jake the Prototype Collier, taking on Chase the Vanilla Gorilla Sherman. And this is going to be a sloppy fight, especially if it goes past, into that third round. Both of these guys, they definitely slow down. Sherman, he is so hittable, and I mean, he just gets hit all the time. I feel like when he starts slowing down a little bit, he just starts eating shots, and it's just really sketch. He has a really good jab, though. His boxing is probably the pretty clean boxing, at least when it's in close. As for Jake Collier, early on, I think he's able to do some things that most heavyweights can't do. He's landing head kicks. He's definitely mixing up his strikes, and in his last fight against Carlos Felipe, which he lost via split decision. I mean, honestly, that fight could have gone either way. I felt Felipe was losing that fight just a little bit because he was kind of just content with, he'd get hit and be like, oh, you hit me or whatever. But it is what it is, whoever the judges are. But I do think Jake Collier, maybe just because he slowed down in that fight, I guess that's probably why he lost. But his striking early on is really good, and I think he has the better striking early on in comparison to Chase Sherman, who, he does have a good jab. He has good head movement. He's definitely going to go for those leg kicks. But like I said, his wrestling I don't really think he's gonna be a threat with wrestling here. I don't think either guy's gonna necessarily go for wrestling. I think it's gonna be a stand-up fight, but I think early on Collier is gonna have the more variety of strikes. I think he's definitely gonna try to not just land one big shot. Whereas Sherman, yeah, he can use a good jab. He can throw those leg kicks, but the moment he starts slowing down, I just feel like his defense goes out the window. And granted, Jake Collier is going to slow down too, but I feel like his defense might be a little bit better, and he'll have more of a arsenal, and he'll definitely be able to take advantage of the times where Chase Sherman is just willing to get hit a little bit too much, and then you have Collier just kind of just pouring it on him, trying to tee off on him, and maybe neither guy gets a finish. Maybe whoever gasses out badly enough gets put to sleep or something like that. But I do think I could see this fight just going, both guys are just trying to land the better of strikes. They're both gassed out. It's the third round, and then we just get a decision here. And maybe another split decision loss for whoever. But, yeah, Chase Sherman against Parker Porter, which he lost that fight via unanimous decision. I don't know. It just sketches me out that I feel like he just keeps getting hit, and it's just he doesn't really have a defense, and that's just whether or not he stays in the fight and doesn't get knocked out. I mean, that's cool and all, but you're not gonna win a decision if you just keep getting teed off on like that. And like I said, Collier, I think for a heavyweight, speed, good volume, he definitely early on mixes in a lot of strikes. So we'll see what happens, but I'm gonna go Jake Collier on this one. Something tells me they're just gonna be really gassed out, and it'll be like a decision fight, and it'll be one of those barn burner kind of fights towards the end where it looks like it just doesn't look good at all. So I'm going to go Jake Collier on this one. I'm going to take him to defeat Chase Sherman. I'll take him to win by a decision. And then move on into the third fight on the main card, and we have Brandon Raw Dog Royval taking on Rogerio Bontorin. A fight where you have one guy in Royval, 12-6, where he is a wild guy, right? He's going to go for submissions. He's going to constantly work when he's on the floor. He's always going to go for something like he's always trying to make the play, right? He's not content with just standing there doing nothing. Even on the feet, maybe he throws a little like spinning elbow or something like that. On the feet, I would say he definitely isn't necessarily dangerous when it comes to like KO power, but he'll definitely touch up. He'll definitely be one of those opponents where he's always throwing something, right? He's touching you up a little bit, mixes it up. And it's a pretty fast pace, constantly transitioning if he can get the fight to the floor, looking for that subs, trying to backpack you, trying to do whatever he can. We saw that in his last fight against Alexander Pantoja, which he won. He lost that fight via submission in round number 2. He did lose that fight, but he was definitely able to, in the first round, keep up with the grappling and do a lot of work for himself as well. He didn't look like he got absolutely destroyed in that fight. For Rogerio Bontorin, he's got really heavy hands, slower pace though than Royval. Bontorin's not just running there trying to take you out or take you down and then grapple the hell out of you. He's definitely a slower pace. I think it's because he's trying to load up a lot of his shots, right? He's got really heavy hands. I think he definitely looks for the grappling, but he has to be really careful here. Regardless if he feels comfortable on the ground, I still think Royval can hit him with a submission. He's done that before. So Bontorin, maybe he thinks he can get the better of him on the floor, but he's got to be a little careful for this one. And then obviously Bontorin, we saw in his last fight against Matt Chanel. I mean, there were times where he was able to get some pretty heavy shots landed in there, and he does have good control on the floor. I'll give him that. I think against Matt Chanel, he showed a little bit of that. He can definitely hold you on the floor if he needs to, land some pretty good shots. So, but again, against a guy like Royval, who's going to constantly be trying to transition, he's going to try to be doing something at least. I think it could be a little dangerous for Bontorin. And Bontorin, the heavy-handed thing, yeah, it's always going to be there, but again, over the course of 3 rounds, if you're just trying to load up in your shots and it's not working, and you got the other guy pitter-pattering you up, landing some leg kicks here and there, and just overall just maybe being the guy who puts more of a variety, even if it's not damaging, that's obviously going to look better for the judges. So for me, this is one of those fights where I think maybe Bontorin, it just depends, right? Maybe it's wild early on. Someone gets dropped, someone gets caught, whatever. Maybe someone gets submitted. But I think over the course of 3 rounds, I can see Bontorin kind of just getting, just sitting back a little bit too much. And then maybe he's just loading up on shots constantly, and he kind of just gets a little bit tired, slows down a little bit, and then next thing you know, you have Royval who's able to take over. Maybe he is getting taken down or something like that, but then he's still working for those submissions, and he catches Bontorin in the 3rd round because Bontarin is just kind of getting a little bit tired or whatever, and Royval is able to pull off some crazy submissions. So we'll have to see on this one, but I do like Brandon Royval on this one. Maybe he does something crazy early on. Maybe he gets caught early on, but I'm gonna take, like, if Bontarin gets a little bit tired. So I'm gonna go Brandon Royval. I'm gonna take him to defeat Rogerio Bontarin by submission in round number 3. And then move on into the next fight, and I believe this is going to be the co-main event of the evening. We have Caitlin Blonde Fighter Chikadze, classic name, versus Jennifer Maia. 16-4 for Caitlin Chikadze, and then we have 19-7-1 for Jennifer Maia. Now this is a rematch. I believe Caitlin Chikadze won the last fight. Nothing special. I think Jennifer Maia just didn't have a variety of good strikes. I think she was kind of just looking for 1 or 2 strikes here and there, whereas Chikadze, maybe not, the most dangerous striking, maybe not the most damage ever, but she was landing the more variety of strikes, and she was able to land the more, maybe more kicks. It wasn't really anything of significance. It just was more volume, right? So it was like, okay, that just looks good for the judges. And when you look at Caitlin Chikadze, she fights with range. She's always trying to hit the movement. She's a volume puncher. I do think she has a ground game, but I in that fight, Maia was the one trying to maybe go for the takedown. I guess both, but I really don't look at Chikadze as someone who's like diving in for takedowns or something like that. Maybe hold against the fence kind of thing, but she's definitely going to try to hit the volume from a distance and kind of just light you up. Again, nothing of damaging. It's not like she's landing these most vicious strikes ever, head kicks or something like that, or going to the body and destroying her opponents, but it's effective because it looks good. She scores the points. Like I said, no, not necessarily like a power. She's not going to knock Jennifer Maia out. Whereas I feel like Jennifer Maia definitely puts more emphasis into her punches. She's going to try to but it's not technical, really. It's kind of just 1 or 2 shots here where it looks like she's loading up. And, Chikadze can probably just work through that and not necessarily. Maybe she gets put up against the fence against Maia. But overall, I just don't see Maia, unless she gets lucky with she catches her with something on the feet. But I just think Chikadze's going to dance around her, light her up, go to the body, hit some side kicks, go to the head, jab. Again, nothing really of like too much damage or anything, but she'll just win the fight. Jennifer Maia, if she can get it to the floor, maybe she's able to do something. Maybe she can work a ground game if she's able to get her to the floor. But again, they fought before, and I'm pretty sure Chikadze is aware that she shouldn't be getting taken down and like fully mounted in this fight. So I expect her to kind of do the same thing. And again, her fighting style isn't the greatest. It's not the most entertaining thing ever. This fight probably won't be the most entertaining fight, especially for a co-main event. But regardless, Chikadze should probably get this one done here. So I'm gonna go Caitlin Chikadze to defeat Jennifer Maia. I'll take her to win by a unanimous decision. And then this fight was supposed to happen, but no longer happening. So move on into the main event. I believe that fight with Piera is going to be next week. So we'll see what happens with that one. But for the main event of the evening, we have Kattar taking on Giga Ninja Chikadze. Kattar coming in with a 22-5 record, and then 14-2 for Giga Chikadze. And I think I've been disrespecting Giga. He's one of these guys where I think when you look at him fight some of the lower level competition, you're like, okay, what has he done? He just landed 1 shot and he's taking these guys out. But when I watched his last fight against Edson Barbosa, especially what Edson Barbosa was doing in his last fight, where he hit the jab and then I forget his name, but he froze KO'd him, like delayed KO'd him or whatever. And Edson Barbosa's fought like the top guys or whatnot. But Giga Chikadze, when he fought him, was just like fighting the perfect fight. He was setting him up so well for the kicks. He was just dominating him, and then he was able to finish him via KO, TKO in round number 3. And that's pretty tough to do. Like that's pretty tough to do. So Chikadze is like, okay, I get him now, right? I definitely, he's a tactician. He's definitely setting up his strikes. It's not like he's just getting lucky with the kick. He knows what he's doing out there, and he can be really aggressive. And damn, man, he must kick hard as shit. He definitely knows what he's doing. So pretty scary dude. For Calvin Kattar, coming off of a loss, probably the worst loss of his entire career, right? Getting his ass beat the way he did over the course of 5 rounds, let it be. And it was just a unanimous decision. Should have been stopped. I mean, he just took so much damage in that fight. It was just brutal. How is he going to look coming off of that? His confidence going to be high? Because he's fighting a guy who, maybe he could beat Max Holloway, right? Who knows, right? We don't know, but he's fighting a guy that's gonna come in there to take his head off, and not a guy that I think is gonna beat him up over 5 rounds, but is gonna, like, in that third or second round try to definitely go for it. So Kattar's got to do something, right? He's got to do something early, and I don't think he can let Chikadze, settle in with those kicks and all that, because, and maybe he gets finished, right? But Kattar definitely has to do something where he has really great boxing. We've seen him set a lot of people up with his boxing, but that requires you to close the distance. That requires you to get in the face of Chikadze. Whereas Chikadze's game, maybe we're going to see a new game of him, but he likes to have a little bit of distance so he can land those kicks and kind of trick you, set you up. So I think for Kattar, he's got to throw him off his game. He's got to get in his face. He's got to set up this boxing range. He's got to just be aggressive the entire fight. Don't give him that range to kick, because you really don't know what's going to happen with that. Now, obviously, the concerning part with Kattar is if you look at, his strikes absorbed per minute, kind of got destroyed because he got absolutely destroyed by Holloway. But he does get hit, and he's kind of willing to get hit because he, like, fights through it, right? So he takes some shots, but then he's like, I'm going to go through that and then just crush you. So that'll be interesting to see what he can do here. Is he going to be aggressive? Because I think, yeah, if Kattar, if he gets hit in the body, and you see him just wince, like, it's over. It's going to be over, because, it's over. Like, what are you going to do after that, And then he's going to try to set it up, and, yeah, I think the only way Kattar can win this fight is if he gets in his face, overwhelms Chikadze, and it's just kind of hard for me to see because, again, what's happening after his last fight. But even his last fight against Max Holloway, what can you take from that or whatnot, but Kattar is just going to have to really close that distance and get in his face. Whereas Chikadze, he's probably preparing for that, so he's going to try to set him up. He's going to try to do something crazy, I think. And I definitely think he's going to go for a finish. Now, whether or not he's able to get it, that just depends, because obviously Kattar's tough. But the way Chikadze, knows where to go to the body and all that to just crush you and just really just destroy you, basically. Look at what Cub Swanson did in this last fight, right? Against Darren Elkins. Now, granted, it's Darren Elkins, and I think Giga would destroy him, but either way, Cub Swanson is not like some dude that's just out to lunch. And Giga just one-shotted this guy, right? So he's regardless, he's very technical. He can definitely set you up for these big strikes, and his speed is really good. He has that blitzing kind of speed where you just pop, pop, pop. I think you might take him out. Maybe it won't be with a kick this time. Maybe it'll be with something. Maybe it'll be with a strike or with a fist, right? So we don't know what else he's got in his bag. We think we know, but if you're a good fighter, you're always evolving. You're always adding new tools. So we'll have to see with this one. But Kattar, too many questions, and just I think him having to close that distance and be aggressive is like his only way to win, where I can see Giga, like, we're all looking for that kick, but I feel like he can probably punch his way to a victory, and probably tactically land the better strikes through 5 rounds if it goes to decision, whereas Kattar, has to be aggressive or he's going to lose this fight. I don't see Kattar just sitting back and being like, yeah, let me land a punch here. That's just not how he fights. He kind of needs to eat damage and get in there, close that distance to win a fight. So I'm going to go Giga Chikadze on this one. I think this will be a real great fight up until someone gets absolutely crushed. But either way, I think this will be a great fight. We'll have to see what happens. But I'm going to go Giga, the Ninja Chikadze, to defeat Calvin Kattar. I'll take it a win by round 3 KO TKO. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC Vegas 46 main card predictions. Jesus Christ, live this Saturday, January 15th. We're looking for the NFL games, man. If you have any investment in the NFL games, definitely tell me who you think is gonna win. I'm from Florida, so obviously I'm going for the Buccaneers, but hopefully we can get past Philly. That would be a try. If Philly, imagine it's like Philly versus the Steelers or some. If it's Philly versus Steelers in the Super Bowl, that'd be the craziest shit ever. Because, like, what? But that's separate. That's NFL. Talk about that another time. So thank you guys for watching. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Thank you guys for coming back to the video. Let's start this year off right. Let's get into it and let's see what happens. I'll see you guys in the next video.